Public reacts on Gorgui Mbub's reinstatement. Airfare spike in Nigeria as aviation fuel prices soar. TRRC extends deadline for submission of final report to the presidency. This and more coming on the World Today newscast. Hello, this is the World Today newscast with me, Mariama Cham, and thanks for joining us. Anti-crime head Gorgui Mbub has been reinstated into office after over 10 months of suspension from the armed unit of the Gambia Police Force. His dismissal as head of the anti-crime followed public outcry over police brutality and subsequent condemnation of his leadership by the National Human Rights Commission. The ACC engages across sections of the public on Gorgui Mbub's reinstatement to the top job, and she tells us more.
One Mohamed Job welcomed his reappointment on the belief that the country needed someone like Gorgui Mbub to combat crime rate.
Man, they rafelu nako anyway because the Kibida needs security.
I appreciate Gorgui Mbub's work because this country needs security. It needs people who know the towns very well. And for Gorgui Mbub, he knows this country very well, especially Serekunda here. Him and London Boya, they know Serekunda very well. And the way things are, we need someone who knows the country very well, because nowadays thieves are all over the country. Breaking into people's houses is very common now. This is why people are even so scared to go out because of the thieves.
More than 20.
From the views of Dudunjai, anti-crime in itself is a good security unit, but the manner in which it operates needs to be properly defined and according to standards.
Why no you operate modest? Because hamna lo bari luy dox fofu.
I support anti-crime 100%, but the way they operate is lacking, because I know so many things that is going out there. For Gorgui Mbub, I have no problem with his reinstatement, but I know what happened to him before. He would not allow that to happen again. He needs to check himself properly. Human beings are so important, so if you walk in with them and they do something wrong, you can arrest them, but do not take the law into your own hands.
On the opposite side, Yankuba Toure maintained that the work of Mr. Mbub has never been good since the start of the anti-crime operations in the country.
For next minute. Gorgui Mbub's work is not right. Nothing is good about it. All is poor. If he walks today, next day all is mixed up. What is not supposed to be done should not be done. Nobody should come and try to put out their own laws. The laws that the government has put in place, let all go by that. But if you put down your own laws, you are only trying to destroy this country.
Lawyer Martin believes that the reinstatement of Gorgui Mbub as commander of anti-crime is another expansion for the country. If only he could add more force in tackling the crime rate in the Gambia.
Now, bringing him back to what they call the anti-crime unit, it becomes another development. However, for some of us, what we are after is to make sure that the current policing system to be smart and also to be effective. So if the police feel that since his transfer they have a problem or there was a gap, now bring him in, probably we will have to watch, wait and see again. But it may be also somehow a good development if at all he was in the judgment of the police that he is doing a good job like compared to before. So taking it as it is, as I say, as long as he can come and add more weight into make sure that we tackle crime in our communities, especially within the anti-crime and KMC regions.
Since the demotion of Gorgui Mbub as anti-crime head, increase in crime has been a concern for citizens, causing many to doubt the capability of the country's security apparatus. This has led to the introduction of Operation Zero Crime, with the view to curb crimes in the country and ensure public trust and safety. The anti-crime unit, established in April 2018, is mandated to combat crime and criminal activities in the country. country. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Now, the recent increment of airfares in Nigeria has sparked dissenting views among passengers in the country. The fare increment is attributed to the surge of aviation fuel prices in the West African nation. The latest development could further plunge the industry as it recovers from the adverse effects of COVID-19. Details of that in this report.
These are not the best of times for passengers here at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, with the soaring cost of airfares fueled by a surge in the cost of aviation fuel, also called Jet A1. Passengers lament their ordeal.
I'm flying to Lagos. Today I paid 57,000 naira for a Dana flight to Lagos. But then it was not like that before. 3-4 months ago, it cost less than 40,000 naira.
Flight cancellations too have become rampant.
The fare for yesterday that I booked was 378,850, and then today now they are telling me 680,000 naira, and I don't have such money to book a flight ticket that I have already booked and it was cancelled.
In 2016, the Jet A1 was sold at 110 naira per litre. Recently, the price rose to between 250 and 300 naira per litre in the south and north, respectively. Several factors, including inflationary pressures, exchange rates, logistic challenges of importing and distributing the products, are responsible for the price hike.
In the last 5 years, the foreign exchange rate has almost doubled from about 250 naira to now over 400 naira at official window.
Airlines spend up to 40% of their operating cost on aviation fuel. Despite being the world's 6th largest oil producer, Nigeria is still unable to refine the product locally, making it susceptible to external forces.
What we can do, number one, is to give them special rates. Secondly, is to give them low interest bearing loans.
Nigeria's aviation industry lost nearly $500 million in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The sector has been grappling to survive the many other challenges bedeviling it. Industry players say this could have dire consequences and pose a threat to the growth of the sector if not promptly addressed.
Now, the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission has pushed forward the date for submission of the final report and recommendations to the presidency. Following the conclusion of public hearings in May, the task was scheduled for the 30th July until Wednesday, when the latest date for submission of the report was shifted to the end of September. This extension, according to the chairman of the TRRC, was informed by the task in processing 16 volumes of the report. Amanda has the rest of that in this report.
Among the key dates at the corridor of the TRRC Commission was the conclusion of the public hearings on 28 May 2021, after 393 testimonies on the human rights violations under the regime of the former president. The Commission was now expected to deliver the 16-volume report together with recommendations to the Office of the President on July 30th, but the report writers are still overwhelmed with the processing of documents. As a result, 8 more weeks, making it to 30th September of 2021, is required to complete the task ahead, according to Dr. Lamin J. Sise, chairman of the TRRC.
Notwithstanding the heavy schedule of work devoted to completing the draft report, the Commission informed the Attorney General on 27 July that it needed more time, about 8 weeks, to complete all 16 volumes of the report and the other important documents. Accordingly, and following a meeting between the chairman of the Commission and the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, the Commission suggested a new date of Thursday, 30 September 2021, as the date of submission of the final report of the TRRC to the President.
He outlined the work that justifies the need for extension period of the life of the TRRC.
The work to be continued during the 8-week extension period involves the finalization of the following: 16 volumes, each containing overview, findings, and recommendations on the following: A, soldiers with a difference; B, 11 November 1994 extrajudicial killings of security officers; unlawful killing of former Finance Minister Usman Koro Sise; killing of West African migrants; and the 3 institutional hearings.
The 16 volumes include transcripts of the public hearings, outreach engagement activities, and witness poetry album. For iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
Now, due to the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Network of People with HIV and its partners launched a free call center to help its members to access medical care during the national lockdown. As featured in this report, a young Zimbabwean lady with HIV has been explaining the struggles she encountered during the pandemic. Details in this report.
24-year-old T, the initial of her first name, was born HIV positive and has had to overcome many challenges like stigmatization and bouts of depression because of her condition. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, she's had to deal with even more problems.
They introduced that you have to have a restriction letter, which indicates where you're going. So my review date came, and I was supposed to go to my review. Then the roadblocks were all over, but I managed to pass 3 roadblocks. When I was in town, there was this lady officer who said, this letter of yours doesn't mean anything. You just have to step off the bus. Then the bus left without me. So I had to get my pills. It was a forced disclosure in front of everyone. So I had to take my pills off, show her, take my ID, and show her that the name on the pill is the same on my ID.
There have been other difficulties for her and others. Many young people, and not just those living with HIV, have faced challenges accessing contraceptives, which has led to a surge in unwanted pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections. A call center has been set up by the Network of People Living with HIV and UNAIDS, offering information on access to antiretroviral medication and family planning services during COVID-19 lockdowns, while also offering support for other issues.
I was used in selling for me to get an earning. So I used to sell, come in town, deliver things, sell wigs, do people's hair. So when COVID came, I couldn't have anything to give me money. It was a very big trauma, so I had to call the center for help, for counseling.
The telephone conversations have been a crucial lifeline for many.
I will give an example of Harare. On daily basis, you get about 50, 60 calls that will require different services. Some to do with just basic access to services. Some will require just the psychological and mental health support. Some talk about livelihoods, treatment and care.
Kutabila platform is engaging community health centers to spread the word and enlisting beneficiaries like T to offer their positive experiences so more young people living with HIV can be reached.
In that report on Network of People with HIV in Zimbabwe launching a free call center for its members in the national lockdown, will take us to a quick break and we'll be right back with the rest of the news on the wall today.
The locations, the design, the materials used, all the way down to the latest details are few of many things that we focused on when we envisioned the airport residency. As proud innovators of community estates, the airport residency in Old Yundum, a project by Swami India International, offers unique gated community with 3- and 4-bedroom villas and duplexes. Just 5 minutes away from the Banjul International Airport. Luxury, convenience, and accessibility are some of the reasons you should consider this great housing opportunity. With a clubhouse, a playground, access roads, and parking facilities available for your dream home or a valuable investment, you will find all you need at Airport Residency here in Olyunda.
Welcome back, and you're still watching the World Today newscast. Now, Tanzania's government has upped their game in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, with the president taking her first COVID-19 jab. President Suluhu Hassan has encouraged citizens to take the vaccine as the East African country became the latest nation to join the global fight against the pandemic. The health minister vows to raise public awareness to counter vaccine misconceptions after being criticized for downplaying its dangers with former President Magufuli. Details in this report.
Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has taken the COVID-19 vaccine. She and other high-profile government officials got vaccinated at the highly anticipated launch of Tanzania's vaccine rollout. Tanzania received 1,058,400 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine through the COVAX initiative.
Let me assure you, my fellow Tanzanians, that we will make sure vaccine doses are available for those who want to get vaccinated voluntarily.
This rollout launch sees Tanzania join the global community in the inoculation exercise. Burundi and Eritrea are now the only countries on the continent that are yet to launch a vaccination campaign. With this launch, Tanzania is looking to vaccinate at least 11 million people in the coming months. The government says that along with the 1 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it is planning to import 5 other vaccines from other sources. At the launch of the campaign, Health Minister Dorothy Gwajima vowed to roll out a public education campaign to counter vaccine misinformation. Earlier this year, she had publicly dismissed COVID-19 vaccines, instead promoting natural remedies. Now, she says that those who claim former President John Magufuli was against vaccines had misquoted him.
What he said was the Minister of Health should not just rush to bring in vaccines without researching them and satisfying itself. Then all the expert editors out there decided to change his quote from the speech and decided to mislead people.
President Hassan is also urging the media to educate the public of the importance of receiving the vaccine.
Now, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan there took her first jab of the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, the Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society has expressed preparedness of the humanitarian organization for the third wave of the coronavirus global pandemic. Alassane Senghor was speaking to iAfrica TV in the wake of renewed public consciousness on the dangers posed by the virus in its new trends. The government has since last week announced the launching of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in addition to the revival of preventive measures. Naisise files in this report.
Although businesses have reopened and restrictions eased in the Gambia, the resurgence of the coronavirus cases in the third wave is a matter for public attention. The third wave of COVID-19 bears the fingerprints of the Delta variant, according to health officials, which has been identified in 19 countries across the world. Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society, Alassane Senghor, said the situation has compelled the Gambian-based international organization to double up efforts in responding to COVID-19.
We have never stopped our operation since the beginning of the response since 2020, early 2020. We continued. What we have done with the surge, increase in the number of cases, what is being considered the third wave, we have scaled up our efforts. We scaled up our work in terms of the preventive measures, in terms of sensitizing the communities, and also helping communities to also take care of themselves in terms of use of face mask, sanitizing or washing hands, and also understanding the need for social distancing. So we've scaled up that work.
Right from the outbreak of the pandemic, the Red Cross has been in the forefront, battling back the spread of COVID-19. Its role in disinfecting public institutions, including schools, had paved the way for a safe back-to-school period across the country. Similarly, Red Cross volunteers had been responsible for execution of various services of patients who died of COVID-19. As Mr. Senghor explained, however, the barrier protocol from the World Health Organization has positioned the Red Cross to empower families who desire to do the burials of their loved ones by themselves.
The protocols for managing the death from COVID has changed. It changed actually late last year or mid last year when WHO changed the protocols from Red Cross actively doing the burial to disinfecting the bodies and then handing them over to the families to do the burial. Notwithstanding, in the event that families feel that they can't do it for obvious reasons, our teams will always do. So we have not been doing the burials. Mainly in some very rare cases where families want us to help, we will help.
Proper equipment and resources are highly needed to enable a proper and timely response on all COVID-related emergencies on the side of the Gambia Red Cross.
One of the challenges that we face and other institutions, including governments, have faced is the lack of resources to be able to respond adequately. But for us, and like I said earlier on, that's why we have been in communication with our parent body in Geneva and to support and give more resources so that we are able to respond adequately to the needs of the response in Gambia.
The increase in the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths in the Gambia has overwhelmed both the Ministry of Health and the Red Cross Society, a situation for which Mr. Senghor urged for cooperation of all stakeholders, including the public. The Gambia has recorded an overall total of 7,333 COVID-19 cases, out of which 6,205 have recovered and 208 have died since the confirmation of the first case in March 2020. Across Africa, COVID-19 cases are surging by 20% on a weekly basis. The situation is quickly approaching numbers documented during the peak of the first wave in July 2020. The number of coronavirus cases and the resulting death toll, according to officials, will continue to rise in countries that are unable to suppress the virus and conduct comprehensive vaccination campaigns. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Gambia Red Cross, their role, its sleeves ready to suppress the third wave of the coronavirus pandemic that just hit the country. Now that's all for the news on the world today. Join my colleague Sohna Tunkara at 7:30 for more local stories. I am your presenter Mariama Cham. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.